A no buy actually saved me in April $1,042. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. And now we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics ever, and it's saving money, because I don't want to give my money to these credit card companies. I don't want to give my money to these rich meanies, okay, on interest and debt for no reason. It's my money and I am saving it now. I'm going to start with a bunch of tips, general tips on how I save money and how I recommend people to save money. And then we're going to go and talk about how to save it. Where are you putting it? Where is it going physically? And what are your savings goals you would want to stop living paycheck to paycheck? So, what are your biggest expenses? That's going to be housing, groceries, car, maybe. Nobody wants to hear this, but the quickest way to save the most money is to downgrade your housing or your car. Can you get a roommate? Can you move back in with your parents? I wouldn't have. I got a roommate, but I would never have moved back in with my parents. Sometimes it's just not possible, and that's okay. But can you? Can you? Because that is the easiest way to make the most money, is stop paying a $1,500 rent, but not always doable. We also have car bills, car expenses. Can you get under your parents' insurance? Can you get a hand-me-down car from your parents? I wasn't able to do that, but if you can, you should. Can you pay off your car in full? If you're looking for a car, are you going to get a loan, or can you pay it all off? I would pay it all off. But sometimes you can't just cut your biggest bills in half. There's a reason why it's your biggest bills. You have non-roommateable situation, and you just can't change these big bills. It is legitimately the quickest way if you can, but it's really not possible for a lot of people, and that's okay. So what are our other options to save money? So if you saw my last video, I talk a lot about groceries, and the groceries is also one of our biggest expenses, right? So you probably have your rent, mortgage, maybe groceries here, and then car, or car, groceries. Perhaps childcare is in there. So the most variable is probably going to be your grocery bill. So this is where we can attack. This is where we can make a difference. So I'm not telling you don't eat well. I want you to eat well. But if your third expense is actually eating out and not groceries, we got to flip that. Eating out is getting way more expensive. So you should probably attempt to make that a special treat, not how you eat every day. But yeah, go watch my other video if you haven't seen that after you're done watching this one, of course. I didn't really talk about general tips about how to save money on grocery shopping. I kind of explained how to grocery shop and how to prepare food for yourself in a orderly fashion to make it easier. So the first thing I'll say is check out those apps for the grocery stores. They suck. They're awful. But they have coupons on there for random things while you're in the store. Kroger does extra Kroger points on Friday. There's specific deals for specific stores on these apps and on their weekly deals. Now, I'm not one to legitimately shop for their sales. One, because I'm vegetarian and I don't really care if the chicken is on sale. Maybe you do. So you might want to review the sales before you make your grocery list for the week to see what's on sale on the app right before you go to the store, so you know what you want to buy. Now, these apps do suck. They really are terrible. But that doesn't stop me. If I can't get the app to work, I don't think I could even, we don't even shop at Kroger anymore as much because Food Lion's just a bit more cheaper for us, and we're fine. We don't really use the Kroger points all that much anyway, because we spend less than $60 on gas every month because we both have hybrids. Yes, if you can, get a hybrid for the gas expense, because we both drive for less than $60 a month for gas for both of us because we both have hybrids. Anyway, I think I could never even link my Kroger card to the Kroger app. And I've had that Kroger card for like 15 years. So I just, I'm trying to save money and I don't give a F if I look like a crazy person saying, hey, can you fix the app for me? Can you make this coupon work? Because I have the coupon right here on my phone, but it's not showing up on the self-checkout. And they fix it for me because they're chill. They don't care, really. Like they're going to fix it for you 9 times out of 10. And like just $2. I don't care. $2 is, money in my pocket. That $2 is not going to this thing that is supposed to have a coupon. It's going to my vacation fund. Okay. If it's not working, I'm asking. Make sure, especially I think Kroger had like a lawsuit over this, maybe, allegedly, possibly, that they weren't giving the deals that they said they had the deals for. Like in their system wasn't like doing the deals that the label said that they were on sale. So make sure the stuff you picked up that was supposed to be like 99 cents off or whatever is actually showing up on your receipt. But I have been using, and I'm working towards, just going to take a year or more. Okay, because I don't fall victim to these receipt apps where you scan your receipt. They give you special points for buying certain things. And if I wanted to buy that thing, I could use, make sure I scan that receipt for the thing I was going to buy anyway. But if you're using a receipt app, and maybe we'll leave a link below the one I use, it says, hey, you're going to get triple points if you buy from this store through our app. If you needed to buy something on that store anyway, great. You're going to get a free gift card much quicker than I will because I don't happen to want to buy something on that app at that store. But every little receipt I give them, okay, I get like 25 points, 25 points, 25 points. If I had bought this name brand thing they wanted me to buy, I would get like 1,000 points. But I don't want that name brand thing. So I'm just going to keep plugging away at my little 25 point. And then eventually I will get enough for like a $50 gift card to Barnes & Noble for a big date experience for Greg and I. So if you want to use a receipt app, Fetch does work. It will give you a real gift card. But if you're using it like you're legitimately just handing it over the receipts that you use and you're not going to be tempted to buy different things that it wants you to buy, just keep that in mind. Because you're saving money. We're saving money. Anyway, moving on, we also have leftovers. Now, in my other video, I talk about how we use leftovers strategically for our lunches, and you don't have to do that, obviously. Like, I feel like we're probably in the minority of people who do that, but leftovers in general, you better be eating them, okay? If pasta doesn't taste good microwaved and you throw it away because you don't want to microwave the pasta, please put it in the oven instead. You can heat things up in the oven and eat the leftovers because you're just throwing money in the trash when you're throwing away food like that. Please just try to eat your leftovers. Also, some of these tips might be like, yeah, no, I'm eating the leftovers. I'm saving money. Well, not everybody, also I'll say don't buy the name brand, buy the store brand item. And you might be like, girl, who has ever bought the name brand? Buy nothing groups on Facebook. That's why I still have a Facebook. Okay. There's these groups on Facebook called Buy Nothing. And it's just where people say, hey, I don't want to take this all the way to Goodwill. Can someone pick it up on my porch? And it could be a bunch of things you need, or people who want to give directly to the community, because usually it's like insert city, no buy, insert portion of city, no buy, or buy nothing group. Hypothetically, if you're looking for a bargain where there's literally free things for saving money. So if you are in the shopping mood and you don't want to get on Temu, you don't want to get on, delete that. TikTok shop. Bruh. I'm so glad I deleted TikTok 3 years ago now. Don't do that. Don't buy anything on there. Look at your Buy Nothing group first. Now, I've said it a couple times trying to describe the Buy Nothing Facebook groups, but you could also do a no buy. A no buy actually saved me in April, $1,042. Yeah. We just stopped buying anything that we didn't need to live. Just for a particular amount of time, just tried to not buy anything. Like, we have our groceries, we have our bills that have to be paid, but extra stuff like household items, we make them stretch. We're not going to the store and getting like new jeans, and we try our best to just not buy anything and save an extra so much money. Now, that was savings on top of working extra hours. So, but yeah, we did save an extra $1,042 last month, or in April, because we just didn't buy anything. So I highly recommend doing that if you can. And you don't have to do a whole month. And some people do a whole year. You could just pick a weekend a month, maybe. So you're like, this is our free date weekend. We're just going to go on a walk. We're going to bring our own snacks from home. We're just going to like have a picnic in a free park instead of eating out at a restaurant this weekend. So there are free things you can do, and it'll save you money. But I do recommend trying to integrate a no-buy portion of time into your regular schedule. Clothes. Clothes can vary in expense pretty great. Like, if you get all your clothes at Goodwill, it's not going to be as much of an issue than if you get all your clothes from like Gucci. I don't know. But, you know, there are things you can do if you feel the surge to want to shop for clothes when you don't really need any. And that would be things like trying on everything in your, oh, hey, little puppy, how are you? Yes. Anyway, so you could try on clothes that you already own. And just like remind yourself, like, oh yeah, this dress was fantastic. I bought it last summer. You can do, oh my God, did you even hear me? So you could try on clothes that you already own, right? Like, oh, hey, this dress, I bought it last summer, but it still looks great to me. And just remind yourself that everything, like, I bought a couple of dresses and then I tried on this green one that I had already had. And I was like, oh my God, I look so good in this. What the heck? I forgot that I liked this dress. And I was like, oh, I never wanted to wear it because I don't know why. I just thought, old dress. And actually, I looked so good in it. So, yeah. You can also sell clothes in that function. Like, oh, you do try something on and you hated it. There's a lot of like aftermarket reselling for clothes. You can also just put them on Facebook Marketplace. You can donate those clothes. And doing that, like interacting with these items in a way, kind of, at least for me, satisfies that urge of like getting new things, interacting with new items and stuff, because you're interacting with the items you already own in a different way. So review your bills. I know, what is it, Rocket Money? You know, you really don't have to pay somebody to check on your bills. And I would get more into this in my How to Budgeting 101 video that should be my next one. But you don't need to pay an app to review your bills. You can do it yourself. You want to know what you're spending your money on. Assumingly, you know your regular bills, your car insurance, things like that. You can haggle them. You can call Netflix and stuff and, you know, threaten to cancel your Wi-Fi. And they might say, hey, well, we can give you a discount and bundle your HBO and your Netflix all together in your Verizon bill. And suddenly your Verizon bill is less than it was, and it's covering your Netflix bill. Those things exist. Saying, hey, you know, I really don't need Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Disney Plus all together. You can also just cancel all of but one and use one at a time and save money that way, because you might not be watching all of these all at the same time. And then YouTube is free still. The ads are crazy, but the YouTube is still free. So if you do really need to save money, it depends on what level of like, oh gosh, I need to save money you are. But if you really need to save money, you can just cancel all of them. and just watch YouTube for free. Tubi is free. How to save your money, like where to save it. Like physically, you have saved money. And I hope these tips helped. But what do you do with your money that you're saving? And how to use that to stop living paycheck to paycheck. So how do you do that? Well, first, you're going to want to open a high yield savings account, which you will find a link below. It is the best way, like the best place to keep an amount of savings. Now, the one I'm sharing with you is good and it has its cons. I'll start with the pros. So the pros is it is a high yield savings account, which means that there's a percentage that usually, the government, I don't know. They have a percentage that does fluctuate sometimes, but essentially your normal bank, this percent is 0.001 for their savings account. A high yield savings account has a savings rate of interest, good interest for you, that is growing your money at roughly 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 to 4. At the height of COVID, I think it was like 4.2 or, really good numbers. So it's like if you have 10 grand in your savings account at 3.7, you're going to make an extra $370 in a year, roughly, which is good. That's great. That's fantastic because you're not doing anything. That's without doing anything. That's just money in your pocket without working for it or worrying about it. It's just putting it in the right place. High yield savings account. And the good part about Ally specifically is it does have different buckets you can scoot your money into. Maybe the $10,000 you have saved total isn't all going to the same thing, or you want it to be allocated later on to a certain thing. So let's say I want to pay off my car, and I have a car bucket, and then I have my emergency fund bucket over here. So you can have the money all in the same account, making that same interest, all getting the benefit from that percentage, but you can visually look at it to where this money is set over here and this money is set over here without having to make a bunch of different accounts and allocating literally different accounts to different things, because that would be a little too much. But yeah, now the only cons, okay, and the way they, they're able to do this, usually from what I know about high yield savings accounts, is like they don't have a brick and mortar. Okay, so all your money is going online. Now it's still FDIC insured, but it's also insured like a regular bank is insured. Though you can't walk up anywhere and say, "Hey, I have an issue," and like talk to a person in person. Okay, so if there's an issue, you're gonna be in the chat and you're gonna be on the phone, so you're not gonna be able to talk to someone in person. That's like the biggest con. But that is, I feel, I've never really had an issue to discuss. And if you have more complicated, like I'm just saying, the least complicated is you're sending money in and you're taking money out. They have very liberal amount of withdrawals you're allowed before you accrue a fee. Like I've never had an issue, and I pay for things and I put money in and I take money out, and there's never been any like issue. I will say, to avoid a penalty, you don't want to be taking out of your savings more than like once a month. If you're like, okay, I made my goal, I need to pay this thing. You don't want to be like, okay, I want that $25 back because I couldn't actually save it and I need it. You don't want to do that with this, because you're going to eventually accrue a fee for withdrawing. So it's, you got to really put that money aside. Also, if it is truly an emergency, it could be that it is online transfers, the bank transfers. I think wiring and things like that, there may be fees associated with that. I don't know. But I just use the regular transfer. Now it can take some time. It can take some time for that. But now you know where. Where do you keep your savings? In a high yield savings account. If you don't want to use the one I use, that's okay. But please put it in a high yield savings account. And how do you use that to stop living paycheck to paycheck? Well, you have savings goals for that. So your first goal would be to set aside a mini emergency fund. Okay. That emergency fund is going to be the amount of rent you need to pay every month. Whatever that amount is, you need a second emergency payment, rent payment, because that takes a load off your shoulders anyway. But you need that set aside. You don't want to touch it unless you literally are on the floor crying. You do not have rent to pay the bill and you're going to get evicted. I don't want you to get evicted. I was evicted. How many times was I evicted when I was a child? I can't even tell you. It was like, how many times? It was not good. It was not good. Why do you think I made this YouTube channel? Trauma. That'll be another video. But yeah, I don't want you to be evicted. I didn't want to be evicted. And nobody was saving money in my household when I was growing up. There was no emergency rent payment on the side. I don't know where the money went, but it wasn't to rent. It wasn't to rent. Hey, yo. You're such a good girl. You're like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? That's your first goal. Emergency rent payment / emergency mortgage payment set to the side. You're still living paycheck to paycheck at that point. But if you're able to do that, you're on the right track. The next step, what are your expenses? You want a month and a half minimum of your total living expenses sitting, not touched. At that point, you no longer have to live paycheck to paycheck. You don't have to, and what I mean by that is you do not worry about when the bill is coming out of your account. At that point in time, you do not have to worry about when does this bill come out and then that bill come out and then am I going to have enough money? I got to split the bill in half. If you're okay with that, that's fine. Like, let's say you're on point, you know when all the bills are, you know everything, and you just have everything in your calendar and it's like fine. And you know your payment, your income is always going to be there, always going to be on time for your income, and your income is not variable, and your partners or whatever, and everything's just going to be where it needs to be. And you don't really worry about that anyway. But you don't want money just sitting in your checking account and you want to put that in your savings. That is okay. But I find the peace of mind of having a month and a half in my checking as a nest egg, just some bedding in there that I don't touch, allows me to never worry about having money set aside to pay for like one unexpected bill. It is my preamble to my emergency fund. It allows me to not truly worry about a missing paycheck, like, oh, hey, the company effed up and they're not paying us this week, but they're going to pay us next week. That's not going to kill me. Now, that's not going to destroy my life because I have like 2 months of my living expenses in my checking account just sitting there. I do not have to worry about when a bill is coming. I review that the bill was as much as it's supposed to be, but I don't need to worry about like when is it coming out of the account. Addendum, please pay yourself your savings like it is a bill. Unless a real emergency hits, then you don't need to worry about your savings. For your emergency fund, I don't include the savings amount. I just include the bills you need to pay, the food you need to buy. I don't include savings expectations for that because in a true emergency, where I'm using this nest egg, I'm using the emergency fund, I'm not going to worry about saving money and like crying on the floor, paying my bills with all of my emergency fund money. So when you're counting up your expenses, don't include your savings. But when you're saving money and you're not using your emergency fund and you're building up your emergency fund, pay yourself first, they say. What does that really mean? It means it's a bill. Your savings is a bill and it goes out of your account like it's a bill. It's an automatic transfer into your high yield savings account that you don't have to sit there and click, okay, well, I save that much money. Maybe I'll just put like 100 in savings. And you decide what your budget is. You decide how much you're going to save a month. You don't have access to that money. You're not going to spend it on Temu. Okay. Now, once you're no longer paycheck to paycheck, do you have debt? Because this is the crossroads. If you have debt and it's eating away at you, then I recommend starting the debt payoff now. Do I recommend paying off debt? And that can be another video, but loosely, quickly, I'll say it is setting that money into a savings account, saving up that amount. You're paying the minimum expected. You're covering interest, right? So if you have an interest accruing debt, you're covering that, paying that, but separately, you're saving as much money as you can to one day pay it off in full. So if I'm trying to pay off my student loans, I'm paying the minimum expected interest and a little more, the minimum payment, and then separately, I'm saving hundreds of dollars every month towards my goal of like in a year paying them off in full. So if you have a debt that's eating away at you, I would say that is when you want to start paying off that debt in full force. But if you're debtless, or your debt is expected and you don't care, like it's just your mortgage or whatever, then take that time now to buff up your emergency fund, especially if you have kids. Okay? You're going to want to have 3 to 6 months of expenses in that high yield savings account. Then, you can focus on becoming debt free or saving up for fun stuff. Now, of course, there's retirement. Hopefully your job can just cover that for you in the moment. Because we all, it's important to save, but it's also important to live. So, retirement funds can be a separate video as well, but that's like the bare bones basic savings, where to put it in a high yield savings account. What do you say first? An emergency RIP payment in that high yield savings account. What do you do then to stop living paycheck to paycheck, if that's what you want? Based on my definition, is have a month and a half of your living expenses sitting in your checking account. Then you buff up your emergency fund or pay off your debt. Then you buff up your emergency fund, and then you start working towards other savings goals. This is your life, you would know. What are you trying to save for? I hope this video helps you save some money. Bye.